All right, let's take a look at 2-2. I'm going to try and go through this as quickly as possible for you guys, but I want to make sure that I accomplish the goal of making sure that you understand what it is that what you're supposed to be doing so you can succeed in the application. Okay, so we're going to take a look at 2-2. This is going to be the work together. All right, so when I'm here in Applia, what I see are I see dates. I see April 1 all the way through April 9th. Okay, and I see these T accounts. Remember, we learned a little bit about T accounts the last lesson that I did for you guys. You'll notice that each numbered date has two T accounts, which are going to signify the two accounts that are going to be affected in every transaction. If you think back to what I said to you before, in each transaction, there's going to be at least two accounts that are affected. Okay, each of these T's and each of these dates will signify each of those specific accounts. All right, so when I look at this, I'm going to first start by popping open the directions. All right, and I have this labeled these labeled accounts up top, which are the accounts that I'll be using, and then I have my transactions, which are listed here 1 through 9. Okay, actually not 1 through 9; it'd be the dates April 1st through April 9th. All right, so when I look at the first transaction, it says I received cash from owner as an investment for $5,000. Okay, the two accounts that are affected, based upon the accounts that I have listed up top right here, are going to be cash. Okay, again, cash labeled here. And the owner as investment would be Kathy Burgum Capital. Okay, the capital is when the owner invests money. All right, so what I got to do in order to make sure this works is I've got to translate that transaction into these T's. Now, the way that Applia does this is they want the account that's going to have the normal debit balance listed first. Okay, so when I look at the transaction again to dissect it, it says received cash from owners and investment $5,000. I know that cash and the capital are my affected accounts. I know that cash is an asset, and I know that the capital account is an owner's equity account. We have also learned that assets are increased with a normal balance on the debit side, and the capital account has a normal balance and is increased on the credit side. So, translating that into this, I need to list the account that's going to have the debit first, and then the credit will go second. Again, in realistic accounting, it really doesn't matter which one you list first, but Applia is going to grade it based upon you listing the debit account first. So, received cash from owner as an investment, $5,000. The two accounts that are affected are cash, and the second one is Kathy Burgum Capital. Okay, I put cash first because I know that cash is going to be debited for $5,000 because it is being increased. And remember, increase to an asset is on the debit side. I'm going to also increase Kathy Burgum's capital by $5,000, and it's going to increase on the credit side because it's an owner's equity account, which means that I have now debited cash for $5,000 and I've credited capital for $5,000. All right, moving on to the second transaction, okay, which would happen on April 2nd. Paid cash for supplies, $50. I know the two accounts that will be affected are cash and supplies. Now, this time I'm paying cash, which means my cash is decreasing. When I decrease an asset, that's going to be decreased on the that's going to be listed on the credit side because the credit side is the decrease side to an asset. Supplies is also an asset, and I am gaining supplies by spending money. So my supplies will be increasing. Thus, since supplies is a debit, I'm going to increase supplies. I'm sorry, supplies is an asset. I'm going to increase supplies with a debit. All right? So the two accounts that will be affected on April 2nd when I bought supplies for cash for $50 are supplies and cash. Okay? Again, I'm listing supplies first because it's going to be debited. And I know it's being debited because supplies is an asset, and I increase an asset with a debit. I've listed cash second because I know that cash is an asset and I'm spending cash, which means my asset is decreasing. And I know that assets are decreased with a credit. Okay, thus I would have debited supplies for $50 and credited cash for $50. Okay, April 5th. Paid cash for insurance. Cash and prepaid insurance are my two accounts. I'm paying cash, so it's going to be done similar to the one on the second, right? Paid cash. That means I automatically know that cash is decreasing. So I know that that's going to go on the bottom because I'm going to be crediting cash. Insurance is an asset as well. Assets, again, are increased because I'm buying insurance for $75. I'm gaining insurance. So that, in turn, is going to increase. And since insurance is an asset, it's going to increase with a debit. Right? So I'm going to put prepaid insurance, and I'm going to put cash. Right? The amount of prepaid insurance I'm getting is going to be $75. Again, I am debiting that because it's increasing. Prepaid insurance is an asset, and I'm increasing the asset by debiting. I'm going to credit cash for $75. Cash is an asset. Cash is decreasing. Okay, so assets are decreased with a credit. Okay, the one thing that we're going to notice in these three transactions, that we're going to notice in accounting all the way through, are the fact that there's always going to be a debit and there's always going to be a credit in every one of these transactions. If you can figure out which one of these accounts is one or the other, then the other account has to be the opposite. All right? There's always going to be a debit. There's always going to be a credit. Try to figure out which one makes the most sense to you on the debit and the credit. And then again, the other account's got to be the opposite. You always have to remember that the debit account in the specific transaction has to be listed first, or Applia is going to count it wrong, just like I'm doing right here. All right, looking at the 6th, bought supplies on account from Bales Supply. Two accounts, supplies, which is an asset, Bales Supply, which is an account payable, which means it's a liability. Okay, so we're going to do this one just a little bit. We're going to follow the same concept, but we're not messing with two assets this time. All right, so I know that supplies is an asset, and I'm getting supplies, so that means it's got to be increasing. Supplies is an asset, again, like I said, and assets are increased on the debit side. So I'm going to put supplies, and the second account we said was Bales Supply, account payable Bales Supply. Okay, like so. The amount of supplies I'm buying is $100. So I'm going to debit my supplies for $100. And you have to remember the rule that I just mentioned. Since I've debited supplies for $100, I have to credit the other one for $100. Because what's happening here is account payable is a liability. Liabilities, in this instance, is going up because I owe Bales Supply $100 for the supplies that I just bought. I'm increasing the amount I owe them, and I increase a liability with a credit. Okay? Again, it follows the same accounting concept. I have to have a debit, and I have to have a credit. Debit, always listed first. Okay? And the final transaction on the 9th, paid cash on account to Bales. So now I'm going to pay them $50 back of the $100 that I initially bought from them. Okay, we're paying cash. Cash is an asset. When I'm decreasing an asset, I do that on the credit side. Okay, so in this instant, I know that cash has got to be the credit because it's decreasing and it's an asset. Okay, so I'm going to put that one down here first, which means the top account has to be accounts payable Bales. Again, I knew that cash was decreasing, so I'm going to put the $50 there on the credit side because, again, it's an asset. I'm paying it, so that means I'm decreasing the asset, which means that I'm then going to have to debit the account payable for $50. And to a liability, you decrease a liability with a debit. So that means that I owe them $50 less than what I initially did. All right? All right, guys, that's the Work Together 2.2. I want you to give it a try, or give the on your own a try for 2.2 or 2-2. And then if you have enough time, I want you to try the application. All right, we'll review the application. We'll see how that goes. If it doesn't go well, we'll revisit this. But I trust that you guys are going to be able to do this. All right, good luck, and email if you have questions. Thank you.